What's up, you guys? It's Tony. A few days ago, I removed the turbo from the Jetta TDI 06. It was a pretty difficult process, and I filmed everything for you guys so you guys could see, get some tips on how to do this job. But I filmed everything in vertical, and I did post a video on how to replace an EGR cooler, but it's in vertical as well, and I didn't really like that. So I'm going to go ahead and put everything back together. I'm going to leave the nuts and bolts and hoses loose, but I'm going to take you guys through as much as I can, almost every step on how to remove and replace the turbo on an 06 Jetta TDI. Just stay along, watch the video, and hopefully you guys could tackle this job on your own. All right, you guys. So this is the car with the turbo removed. I just want to go ahead and go over a couple of diagnostic stuff with you guys. So when my turbo blew out, I originally heard a pop in the freeway. I thought it was a hose. I pulled over, checked on my hoses, and that wasn't it. Brought it back home, towed it back home, and I checked the N75 valve, which is disconnected, but it's right over here. I checked the diaphragm from the turbo. I smoked it to check for leaks that I probably couldn't hear or see, and that all was good. So what I did next, I plugged in OBD ELEVEN to the car, and I found that charge pressure control specified versus actual was much higher than actual, and actual kept on dropping when I revved the car. I then run a couple of trouble codes, and I found a turbo boost under load code. So then I went ahead and continued with diagnosis. What I did, I removed the exhaust from the turbo, and what I found play in the exhaust shaft. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys that in a second. Okay, you guys, so this is everything I removed from the car to get to the turbo: axle, EGR cooler, heater hoses, air intake hoses, all these nuts and bolts. And yes, I know everything goes back together. Pretty good at that, pretty psycho. Either way, so this is the exhaust side, and if you guys could see, this moves. It's not supposed to move like that at all, and it's actually broken. I didn't see that it was broken until after. You guys could look at that bottom fan in the bottom side. That's missing a piece. Now, I'm really hoping that didn't get into the engine. I don't think so. It's just a small piece. It's probably somewhere here inside, or it's already, bits and pieces. Either way, the engine ran fine. I was revving it. It sounded fine. So yeah, I'm gonna put everything I can from this back together, and I'll show you guys how to do the job. All right, you guys. So I put as much as I can back together. I mean, just a little bit of bolts here and there, just so you guys can get a general idea. So first, you're gonna get started by removing your battery. First things first, remove the battery. Okay, once that's off, I will get started first with the air intake. So pretty simple. It's just had done by I don't know, something here. Just pop it off, and there's if you look right here, there should be a torque screw there. If I remember correctly, it's like a T25, T30, I can't remember. Either way, remove the battery, and now all we do is disconnect this hose clamp with some pliers. Take that off. Take this part off. Take this air hose off. Take the bottom air hose that connects to the intercooler side off, radiator side off. And from there, just give it a little bit of love. And there it goes. Right here. Okay, once you remove that, I will remove the battery tray. It doesn't have to come off, but it does give you more room. It gives you more room to get some of the transmission hoses off that I removed. You don't have to, but I did it just for time and space. So once you get those 10mm bolts off, it's 1, 2, 3. You can move on to the next phase. What's the next phase? The next phase is to grab yourself some hose pliers. You need some hose pliers. There's going to be a hose clamp connected to the intake side of the turbo. You're going to get it in there, disconnect that hose clamp, and all you do is take this hose off, disconnect it from the engine bay. It's loose, everything is loose. Once you do that, disconnect the sensor that goes here, and you got it off. Next, I will remove the valve cover. Why the valve cover? By removing the throttle body, you get more access to the turbo. So the valve cover is loose. All you gotta do is disconnect this air hose, take that off, take off the torque screws. They are all T30s. Take those torque screws off, and your valve cover is loose. I hope I'm recording. I am. Okay. So next, with the valve cover removed, you now have access to the T30 that's here. Now you can get it off without removing the valve cover, but it's much easier if we remove the valve cover. You take this T30 off, and then you take this top one off. And there's also another one right behind. So once you do that, now I gotta take it off myself because I put it back in. Actually, no, don't do that. Once you take off your valve cover, let's remove these. These hoses here, these charge hoses. So they do have some retaining clips. All you gotta do, it's already loose, is take them off. Once they're off, remove the T30 that's holding on here to this bracket. Remove the other retaining clip from this side. Okay, and it's off. Okay, once you remove those air hoses, you gotta remove, before you remove the throttle body, you gotta remove the EGR pipe that goes to the EGR or the throttle body, whatever you want to call it. And it goes through the bottom side right here. These are M4s. You go through 4mm Allens. You go through the bottom. You go through the bottom with the long extension. You take those off. I'm gonna post a clip. It's a vertical clip. But once you take that off, now you could remove these T30s. Okay. Okay. You want to make sure you disconnect your sensor, the EGR valve sensor. You take that off, and your throttle body's off the car. Okay. With the throttle body removed, you're going to gain some access. I'm going to take the phone off. You're going to gain some access, and you're going to be able to remove the exhaust part of the turbo. Held on by this clamp here. This clamp is clamped with this 4mm Allen. You take that 4mm Allen off, and the exhaust pipe comes right out. Now, once you do that, you got to remove the sensor, the oxygen sensor. I took mine off right over here. Pretty easy. Once you get that off, you disconnect the oxygen sensor. that runs through here. It runs through the N75 up right behind it. It connects to this one here. You take that off, and the oxygen sensor and the exhaust come right off. Okay, once you do that, you got all these hoses here. These hoses, I would recommend getting out of the way. So first things first, I already removed it. There's a diaphragm hose. You disconnect it from the turbo, right? Okay, so I'm gonna remove the N75 valve. It's held on by a 10 millimeter nut, right? Mine is just loose. It's not bolted on. I already have everything loose. Comes off just like that. Okay. You're gonna make some room, and you're gonna remove the oil tube from the turbo. It's right there. I think it's a 17 millimeter. Okay, so this is I'm using a 11/8 to remove the oil tube from the turbo. It comes out pretty easy. Mine did, at least. It will help if you lived in the South like I do, Southern California, not in the South, in Southern California. There's no breast here, so it's very easy to take things off. Okay, I can't get it off. So I'm going to pause this video and I'm going to go ahead and get it off so I could do it with both hands. There you go. Off. Okay, once that's off, you gotta... Okay, so the audio got cut. So basically what I'm showing here, there's a charge pipe there, and there's also a heater hose that's already off. But either way, you gotta get that heater hose off. I'm gonna post a link on how to do that. Once you get the heater hose off, you remove the T30 from the charge pipe bracket right there. And once you do that, there's going to be one more right there and one more in the bottom that I didn't get to show. Okay, that's going to allow you to get some wiggle room from the pipe to remove it from the turbo. To remove the charge pipe from the turbo. I also removed the transmission hoses to get more wiggle room. That also gives you room to remove the oil return line to give some space moving it to the right side. That's what I did. At the bottom of the engine, you gotta also release the oil return line. Okay, so this is the engine without the axle in the EGR cooler. I'm gonna post a link on how to remove the EGR cooler and axle so you could get this space. Once you have this space, the turbo is ready to get unbolted. Okay, so the turbo is held on by 8 12 millimeter nuts. Once you get those nuts removed from the turbo, it's pretty easy to come off. I'm going to go ahead and take it off to the bottom side. Just got to move the exhaust out of the way and get those hoses out of the way. The turbo should just come right off. Just like that. I'm doing this with one hand and recording. I left it connected, you guys. I left the sensor connected. That's why it's not coming out. There we go. Sensor's off. Turbo's coming down. Okay, I'm gonna need to stop recording. I'm gonna show you guys the final result. This turbo came out pretty easy. I just put some bolts back on so you guys can see how to remove it. On the next video, I'm gonna go ahead and install a new turbo. Well, used because I got it from the yard for like 300 bucks. I can't afford a new one. So yeah, I just want my car running back again. If you guys want to see more videos on how to replace parts for this BRM 06 Jetta, let me know. Subscribe, like, and I'll show you guys how to do more stuff on the car since this car is always breaking down. So yeah, stay tuned, and thank you guys for watching.